In this week's episode, I talk about what a CIRRIS report is, Garmin screen failures, and things to say in a job interview to get a hard no. Plus, a full recap on my week in Broome. All that and more coming right up. So strap in and let's get into it.
Garmin, good morning, 7614, 95 Mallow, 7 PAB with Alpha.
Coordinating, Halo and runner, bank, balance, bank pressure rolling at 30 degrees. That's 30 degrees there. Stand by, start 9000, 1013, K5 25.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 170 of the Flight Training Australia podcast. The podcast all about flight training and flying in Australia and beyond. G'day, I'm your host Trent Robertson and thank you for joining me this week. How are you all? I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. Had a fantastic week in Broome. We'll get all onto that in just a sec. But the weather up in the northern part of Australia is certainly cooling off and getting much more functional. Not as much sweat, much more pleasant, cooler evenings, and actually being able to get out and do some jobs and things and get stuff done. Having said that, everyone down in the East Coast there of all the flooding and things going on at the moment, my heart goes out to you all. I hope you haven't been affected too much. And yeah, just what is going on? Broome itself apparently is going to get a whole heap of rain this week. It's not completely crazy. It can be a bit of a winter bloom that happens every now and then, even though it is technically the dry season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. But yeah, everyone out there in the flooding regions, please be safe, be so careful, and whatever the risk you're thinking of taking, please don't take it. So yeah, had a fantastic week in Broome. It was just lovely. I love going to Broome, and the water was just beautiful. The aqua clear, the red dirt. It is one of those beautiful, unique places, and sort of leading into the Kimberley area where just the colours are just sensational. And we've pretty much all but the last couple of days of some smoke from burn-offs. The sun was shining. It was just lit up, and the Broome colours were coming through. So, yeah, fantastic privilege to see all that and fly with some amazing people. Did most of my work with the team at Air Kimberley and got to meet a lot of the pilots there that were around. And, did instructor training, caravan training, and also some night ratings with Broome Av and also 404 check, which was awesome. Got the call for some other things while I was there, but it just wasn't going to work out this time. So no doubt I'll be back up there again in another 3 to 6 months' time to do some other things, which is great because, yeah, definitely a place I love visiting and going to. But unfortunately, one thing I must admit what got me was the darkness. Broome was getting dark early. Now, I thought that was more of a Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne kind of thing, and Broome's not far enough south, but sure enough, by 5:30 it was dark. And that was making our time efficiency much more important to make sure we got everything done on time. And what it did mean, however, wasn't much time to go for a nice walk along Cable Beach or anything else. But anyway, that's okay. It was a really good night. Caught up with a bunch at the Spinifex as well. So thank to everyone that came out and said good day and had a feed and drink and share some stories, and looking forward to heading back. Have you been to Broome? No? You should think about it. It is another great job destination. Quite a few operators there, just like Darwin. And, of course, you've got Kununurra in between as well. So for those on the East Coast who aren't as familiar with that, definitely somewhere to go. A lot of WA pilots who train, obviously, that's their sort of Darwin, if you want to call it that. And Geraldton and Karratha on the way through, a few other spots, whale spotting and all the like at Coral Bay and Exmouth Shark Bay there. And Geraldton, where else? Kalbarri, aerial spotting, the guys there. And through to Derby and Kununurra before you then basically get the next stop is Katherine and up through to Darwin. So definitely worth looking at employers on that side of the fence and have a look at what they offer and the opportunities there. Some great operators and some really great people to work with as well, which is what it's all about. It's just the people make the journey so much more exciting and fun. All right. Now, the other day I posted a little fun video on CIRRIS reports, and I got a couple of messages just asking what is a CIRRIS report. So I thought, well, that's probably a good thing that you don't know, because it means you haven't got one yet. But a CIRRIS report is basically something that air traffic controllers use to record an incident or an accident. So CIRRIS is not the aeroplane, but it is a CIRRIS IS, and it stands for Corporate Integrated Reporting and Risk Information System. And it's effectively a platform used by Air Services Australia to manage the safety, environmental, risk-related reporting. So just think of it as an incident report, but Air Services related. Basically, because of the Air Transport Safety Act, Air Services has a legal obligation to report certain types of incidents, either straight away or through that online reporting to the ATSB. And CASA also mandate that specific air traffic controls, air traffic occurrences be reported as soon as possible, as we all know. So something happens, might be a loss of separation, airspace breach, just something in the particular airspace that controller is responsible for. They will complete all the details in a CIRRIS report. That generates a notification that goes to CASA and ATSB for their information, but it will then go to operators. So if you are the operator or owner of that aircraft, you will also get a copy of the report with a sort of a please explain. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're in trouble or you've done something wrong. Everything is generally all about let's make things better, let's make things safer. So they will get your side of the story. Sometimes it's Air Services' its fault. So it's not always a pilot thing, so take the information, fill it all in as best you can, and generally that's the end of it. So it's certainly not something you need to be afraid of, but you'll get the information. You can put it then into your own safety management system if you're an operator, and detect that, hey, there might be an issue here that needs solving. If you're a private operator, you'll just learn from the experience, and then that goes up against all the stats for the year of things, and we go, hang on a minute, this particular airport seems to be having this same occurrence happen over and over, and we get things like runway incursions and all that sort of stuff, and then you'll see the diagrams that get put out, educating pilots of where these hotspots are and all that sort of stuff as well. So very, very helpful, and we can all learn for it, and it is really trying to push that just culture, not a blame game, not a punishment. All right, just need the honest information of why it happened so they can work out whether it was just a one-off thing, or, their controllers need more training, or we need to fix a particular bit of airspace. All right, so if you do get one, don't be afraid. Just fill it all in, do the details, and set it all off. So hopefully everyone can learn from your incident or the controller's incident, and we all end up better off for it. Alrighty. To wrap up some more of the questions that I got from the other week that I didn't quite get to, one was about Garmin screens. And does one screen failing in a G500 or 600 or a G1000 constitute the entire unit being considered US? So yeah, good question. I'll start with a G1000. If you've flown a G1000 before, you'll typically have what's considered the pilot side and the co-pilot side. The pilot side will have a PFD, or a primary flight display, and that's your big digitized artificial horizon, airspeed tape, altimeter tape, HSI, DG there. And on the other side will be engine instruments and moving map, and that's called the multifunction display, or MFD. Now, if the PFD were to have a failure, down the middle is all your audio panel, and there's a red button down the bottom, and you can push that button, and that's called manual reversion. And effectively what it will do was combine everything onto one screen. Now, if you push that button, when everything's working, what you'll get is two identical screens. And a lot of flight schools operate their G1000 screens like that, which basically means the instructor gets everything the student gets, and they don't have to sort of look across to see things. But the idea is that if the PFD failed, everything would move over to the MFD, and then the flying pilot would have to look across at the right screen to get the information they need. So the Garmin 1000 definitely has a form of manual reversion and backup, other than battery backup, of course. The Garmin 500 and 600, however, well, the Garmin 500 is effectively one screen, but it's got a bezel over the top of it. So if you were to lose the PFD half, you're going to lose the MFD half, unless you've put a pen through it or something and just sort of cracked and damaged it like you can do with computer screens and TVs. You might have a little bit left. But effectively, yeah, if the screen fails, the screen's failed. So yes, it would be absolutely considered US because it's not doing anything. And this is where, for private aircraft, it's not as legislated as much, but for commercial aircraft, you're going to typically want to have a standby instrument or two, whether they're the old vac pump analog instruments, or you might have like our 206 has. We've got the Garmin 3XI, which is the touchscreen single screen, and we've got G5 backups there as well, which again have artificial horizon, airspeed, altimeter heading, vertical speed, all that sort of stuff backed up on it. So we do have options. The 210 that I normally operate, X-Ray Golf Juliet, that has a Garmin 500, and that's got the 3 analog vacuum pump driven instruments as backups instead. So really, if you did just have the Garmin 500, you probably would want something else with it. You wouldn't want it to be all by itself because, yeah, you're going to be in a spot of bother if it were to fail on you. All right. So hopefully that helps with that question. Now, another one I got was, what are the things that make WHOs and HR reps say no instantly to an application? Really good question. First of all, I think the most obvious one is, remember, it's not about you. It's about the company, what you can do for the company. If you make it all about you, then they're going to move on. They're going to want people who are going to hang around, who can stay with the company for a couple of years, hopefully, which you will progress. So you want to get twin time. If the company has twins, that'll most likely be an option for you to do that down the track, or turbines or whatever. But yeah, just don't make it about you. Make sure that you are talking about what you can do for them, because that's their need. Remember, they're hiring you because they have a need. They need pilots to perform a job function. All right, but some other things, some red flags or hard nose would be, asking about the company and you don't really know anything about the company. All right, if you can't take the 5 seconds to spend looking up who it is you're actually going to be potentially wanting to work for, and indeed if you even want to work for them, then that's probably going to end up for a no. If you've got a big, strong focus on just the money, that's probably not going to come across too well. If you keep talking about your last job and how much you hated them or hated the boss, however true that may be, that's definitely a no-go, because that just signals that you might be a future problem yourself. Someone that's going to just take anything right now. Desperation's not a good look. So you don't want to be desperate, even though, we all were and we all are at times, but you don't want to put that across. Again, if someone that's just going to take anything right now will typically result in someone being disgruntled and not happy. You need to want the job. You want to be there and be prepared to do what is actually going on, not just say anything to get in the door. All right. If you want to just use the job to get experience and move on, not a good job for you, most likely. All right. You need to do what I said at the beginning and what you can do for the company, how you're going to offer your services to perform the requirements the job has. What else is there? Things like, sometimes you get some HR questions and you might say, what's your biggest weakness? You might say, I don't have any. It would come across as a bit arrogant or lack of self-awareness. Either way, not a good answer. Okay. We've all got weaknesses somewhere. So These are all questions that you can pre-prepare quite easily. How much time do I get off? Well, you get 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what role you're flying. Most likely it's 6 weeks. So you don't really need to ask those questions. I'm not really a people person. I don't really have any questions. A lot of these things, there's always a question. There must be having some level of curiosity. You want to be engaging. So show some interest. These are all things that you can have pre-prepared before you go into an interview situation. You don't need to wait until you get there and go, oh, gee, haven't thought about that. So definitely do some preparation to get in there and sort out, what it is you're going to be saying. Most interviews are going to be very similar formatting. They want to get to know you, who you are, what you enjoy doing in your off time. It can't all be about flying, even though some of us are a bit diehard, but, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? And, just sell yourself. That's the best thing. Don't be desperate. Don't come too strong. Just be yourself, and the right job with the right fit will come along. All right, guys, that'll do for today. I thank you again for your company and patronage. If you haven't followed me on Instagram and Facebook, please do. There's plenty of discussions going on, posts and things of everything I get up to, and sharing all the celebrations and achievements of the great people I fly with. There'll be a bit more DC3 action coming up next week, hopefully. Got a couple of flights scheduled, and we're getting very, very close to getting the aircraft ready to go in for maintenance, so that'll be great. And get on the Australian register. Going to be a few hold-ups, I think, for the operational side of things, but again, we'll keep plugging away and let you know how that's all looking. And more great content coming this way. So make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on all the platforms. And again, if you are loving what you're doing and you'd like to do a little bit more to help me out, I would love to have you over on Patreon. Do have separate blog posts and other exclusive content that I only put on there as well. But you can support me financially by becoming a member. And there's a few levels of tiers of membership there. And quite a few of you have come on board lately, which is just fantastic to have you. And I really appreciate that. That just helps go towards all the activities, videos, recording, and everything else, the time I spend putting all these together. All right, guys, be safe as always, and have a fantastic week. And remember the golden rule: aviate, navigate, communicate. All right, cheers, everyone.